there is a quiet tragedy happening in libraries and bedrooms everywhere. You pour your time into the work, believing you are doing everything right, yet without realizing it, you may be building on a foundation of sand. Picture this. You sit at your desk for 6 hours. You highlight every line until the page is glowing neon yellow. You reread the chapter 3 times. You feel exhausted, so you assume you must have learned something. But the next day, you sit in front of the exam paper, and your mind goes blank. The information didn't stick. It just slid off. The uncomfortable truth is that most of us were never actually taught the art of learning. It sounds strange, doesn't it? That is why the process feels endless, a heavy lifting that yields little reward. We rarely pause to ask if the mechanism itself is broken. But once the method shifts, the results transform. Wherever you stand on your path of knowledge, this is the moment the approach evolves. You do not need to drown in mountains of text or endless papers. The heavy lifting has been cleared away. Here, we explore 5 profound principles that shift the focus from the hours spent to the wisdom gained. Step 1. Consumption versus digestion. The first illusion to shatter is the difference between merely consuming information and truly digesting it. In psychology, we call this the illusion of competence. It is the dangerous feeling that just because you understand what you are reading in the moment, you will remember it later. Imagine preparing for a significant challenge. You ask for advice on the duration of your preparation, and the answer is always about the quantity of time, hours upon hours. It is the classic advice, yet there is a catch. It matters little whether you sit for 2 hours or 10 if the mind is not truly absorbing the sustenance. It sounds counterintuitive, but consider this. We often obsess over the consumption, believing that the more pages we turn, the more we possess. But the mind does not work like a basket to be filled. It is a muscle to be exercised. Passing your eyes over the text is not the same as weaving it into your memory. Let's look at the science. When you passively read, you are engaging in recognition. But when you close the book and try to recall it, you are engaging in retrieval. Recognition is easy. Retrieval is hard. And it is precisely this difficulty, this cognitive struggle that signals to your brain, this information is important. Keep it. Think of it this way. To labor for hours but retain only a fraction is a waste of life. But to engage deeply for a brief moment, retaining half of what you touch, is to master efficiency. The question then becomes, how do we deepen the impression? Most of us remain stuck in the phase of consumption. Yet, the architecture of learning reveals that different methods hold vastly different weights. There is the passive, and there is the active. For instance, simply reading your notes is often the path of least resistance, and consequently, the path of least retention. It is why the images of a film can haunt you for years, effortless and vivid, while the lectures you hear and the books you scan fade into the gray. We must be ready to turn the volume up. Step 2, the collective mind. Then, there is the power of connection. Have you ever felt the weight of a complex idea resting solely on your shoulders? The secret is that the burden is not meant to be carried alone. There is a profound strength in the collective gathering with peers to dissect the material, to storm the castle of a new concept together. However, we must be careful. A study group can easily become a distraction, a place for social comfort rather than intellectual challenge. The key is structural engagement. Don't just sit together, teach each other, to explain, to challenge, to support. The bonds built in the fire of study often outlast the lesson itself. When we reach out and team up, the struggle softens. In the architecture of learning, the exchange of ideas, the discussions cement knowledge far better than silence. Because when you articulate an idea to another human being, you are firing different neural pathways than when you simply think about it silently. Step 3. The friction of doing. But to truly scale the heights, one must move from theory to action. This is where the friction creates heat. Psychologists call this the testing effect. Many students dread testing because they associate it with judgment, with grades, with failure. But we need to reframe testing not as a way to measure knowledge, but as a way to create knowledge. Using the tools of practice, testing the self against the unknown is where the alchemy happens. It is a method that delivers the essence of knowledge in a fraction of the time. When the focus shifts from reading to doing, from scanning to recalling, the entire landscape changes. The mind is forced to work, and in that work, it remembers. So, stop highlighting. Instead, put the book away. Take a blank sheet of paper. Write down everything you can remember. It will feel uncomfortable. You will forget things. You will feel frustrated. Embrace that frustration. That specific feeling of almost remembering is your brain physically building stronger connections. Step 4, the art of translation. Then, we arrive at the method of the masters, the art of teaching. This is often famously referred to as the Feynman technique, named after the Nobel Prize-winning physicist Richard Feynman. There is a saying that if you cannot explain a thing simply, you do not understand it well enough. To learn with velocity, one must pretend to be the guide. Pick a complex concept, the workings of the universe, the history of nations, and attempt to explain it to a child. Why a child? Because a child doesn't understand jargon. They don't know what mitochondria or macroeconomics means. You are forced to use simple analogies. Strip away the jargon, keep it pure. In doing so, you will find the gaps in your own armor. If you stumble, you return to the source. Then, you simplify again. The result is not just memorization, but true ownership of the idea. A hidden trick is to speak it aloud or write it down. This act forces the brain to process the abstract into the concrete, locking it away in the vault of deep memory. Step 5, the rhythm of rest. Now, by using these tools, the burnout fades. But knowing how to study is only half the equation. Knowing when is the other. Here is where the rhythm matters. We have all known the panic of the night before, the attempt to swallow a sea of information in a single gulp. We flood the mind for hours, only to find it empty the next day. The binge does not work. The brain, like the body, digests and grows in the spaces between the effort. This is the spacing effect. It is far more potent than the marathon. Think of it like watering a lawn. If you dump a giant bucket of water on the grass once a week, the water runs off and the grass dies. But if you water it gently, every day, the roots soak it up. Your brain is the soil. And speaking of biology, we need to talk about the night shift. There is a dangerous trend in academic and hustle culture that treats the body as an obstacle, something to be ignored, deprived of sleep, and fueled by caffeine to keep the machine running. This is a fatal error. Neuroscience suggests that a vast portion of learning actually happens after you close your eyes. During REM sleep and deep slow-wave sleep, the hippocampus, your brain's temporary storage drive, communicates with the neocortex, the permanent hard drive. It replays the day's memories at high speed, organizing what to keep and what to delete. If you study for 12 hours but cut your sleep to 4 hours, you are essentially hitting save on your document and then pulling the plug before the file is finished writing to the disk. The work is lost. Sleep is not a passive state of rest. It is an active state of consolidation. You aren't being lazy by sleeping. You are letting the neuroarchitects come in and finish the building. This is based on the famous Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. Hermann Ebbinghaus discovered that we forget 50% of what we learn within an hour. But if we review it just as we are about to forget it 1 day later, then 3 days later, then a week later, we flatten the curve. We stop the decay. Instead of condensing the labor into a frantic few days, imagine spreading it gently over weeks. A small, steady rhythm. You retain more, the stress dissolves, and the performance improves. This approach nurtures attention, sharpens memory, and builds a consistency that feels effortless because it is not overwhelming. If you have ever dreaded the desk, this is the remedy. By spacing out the sessions, they become a natural rhythm of your day, rather than a heavy burden to bear. You may even begin to find joy in the ritual. Building a habit of daily, gentle engagement is the greatest gift you can give your progress. Remember, learning cannot occur without the time to process. A marathon of sitting means nothing if the mind is not given the silence to absorb. So, the philosophy is simple. Engage a little every day, return tomorrow, reinforce the weak points, and slowly build the tower. That is the nature of true growth. I hope this perspective shifts the way you view your academic journey. These are the secrets rarely whispered in the classroom, yet they have the power to transform the experience. Learning is not about suffering, it is about strategy. Share with us how you plan to alter your rhythm. Have you ever experienced the fluency illusion? Or have you tried the Feynman technique without knowing it? Tell us your story in the comments. And if this resonated with you, leave a mark of your presence. May your path be clear. And remember, the journey of knowledge does not have to be a struggle. So, take these tools. Build your foundation not on sand, but on the solid rock of science and psychology. The library is quiet, the bedroom is still, but inside your mind, a revolution is beginning. Thank you for giving us your most valuable asset, your attention. If this deep dive has sparked a flame in you, pass the torch. Share this with a fellow traveler. We will be waiting for you in the next chapter.